We now know what George Knapp's secret project is, and it has something to do with Colares, Brazil. So get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please like and subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay, this is from Ronnie Vernet. George Knapp is in Brazil filming a Netflix documentary about Operation Saucer. Here we see him with researcher Thiago Tichetti and journalist Carlos Mendez. So if you're not familiar with, that's the Captain Lima who headed Project Saucer. If you're not familiar with Colares, Brazil, it's right there in Brazil. And it is a very important UFO incident or series of incidents that occurred in 1977. There were many people harmed by these series of UFO encounters and even deaths associated with it. So that's why it's such an important case, because people were actually harmed. It highlights some of the negative parts of the UFO phenomenon. As much as I, in my own thinking, like to concentrate on the good aspects of the phenomenon, the positive parts, because I want to mentally align myself with the positive parts and interact with those parts, because so much of this is consciousness-based and is to some degree reflective, or it'll meet you halfway. But it's very important to keep in mind there is an independent part of this outside of our own consciousness or what we are aligned with or attuned with or want to engage with. There is a part that is doing its own thing, and some of those things are harmful to people. And, that's one more reason why we need UFO disclosure and why we need oversight of the UFO control group, so that we can get them to work for us on our behalf against the negative elements of the UFO phenomenon, instead of, in a sense, becoming part of the negative aspects as they are. But let's go over, some information about Operation Saucer in Colares, Brazil, the incidents there. If you're not familiar with it, an important case, and it really needs more visibility. So I'm so glad that George Knapp is doing this documentary for Netflix. While alien hunters concentrate their energies on pictures from Mars or the top secret Area 51 base in Nevada, an island in Central America was the location of a spate of UFO sightings that was officially investigated by Brazilian officials. Operation Saucer was an investigation into a terrifying series of reported incidents in 1977 where residents in the Brazilian city of Colares claimed that they not only witnessed flying saucers, but they were also being attacked by them. Bright objects of differing sizes, shapes, and colors were said to have been flying at low altitudes, just a few meters above the tops of the trees, and firing light beams at people on the ground below. Several witnesses claimed to have seen beings piloting the crafts, describing them as no more than 3 to 4 feet tall. So are these the grays? It's hard to tell because there are so many species of grays and gray adjacent species that look a lot like grays but aren't. What separates these sightings from the usual glimpses of UFOs in the skies are the numerous and recurring injuries that people suffered. The beams gave off intense beams of radiation that caused puncture marks and lesions, with some reporting to local media at the time that it felt like a heavy weight pushed against their chest. A report into the claims made by the victims stated the beam was about 7 or 8 centimeters in diameter and white in color. It had never hunted for them, but hit them suddenly. When they tried to scream, no sound would come out, but their eyes remained open. The beam felt hot, almost as hot as a cigarette burn. Describing the injuries, Dr. Willid, I'm going to butcher that name, Carvalho, who worked in a health unit in the area during the 1970s, wrote, all of them had suffered lesions to the face or thoracic area. The lesions, looking like radiation injuries, began with intense reddening of the skin in the affected area. Later, the hair would fall out and the skin would turn black. There was no pain, only a slight warmth. One also noticed small puncture marks in the skin. The victims were men and women of varying ages without any pattern. The saucers were quickly dubbed Chupa Chupa, meaning sucker sucker, with reports, I guess that's where Chupacabra comes from, suck, with reports of more sightings and more incidents of people being injured or losing blood. Panic soon started to set in, and women and children left the area while local men stayed to look after their homes or possessions. So they actually had to evacuate the women and children from this area. That's how bad it was. With no reasonable explanation offered as to what exactly was behind the so-called attacks from UFOs, the Brazilian Air Force was tasked with finding out what was going on the island with the investigation officially named Operation Saucer. A 2,000-page military report was soon compiled featuring 500 photographs and 16 hours of film that the Air Force reportedly witnessed with their own eyes. UFOlogist Daniel Geese claimed in his book Vampiros, I'm not going to read that, but it says extraterrestrial vampires of the Amazon, that several military personnel suffered nervous breakdowns while others went completely insane during the course of the investigation. The documents were kept classified until several pages were released in 2004, showing drawings and photographs of what the military saw. And a lot of this is still classified. Bright cylindrical lights feature in the photographs, while several drawings show similarly shaped objects witnessed by people on the island at the time. Despite this, the operation never explicitly stated that UFOs or aliens were the official cause of the sightings and injuries. However, high-ranking officials from the Air Force reportedly told a group of ufologists in 2004 that they had discreetly been studying the existence of UFOs since the mid-1950s. But what could be the explanation if it's not aliens? Some think the area was simply being used as a test site for top-secret military craft, something people have also used to explain away the secrecy behind Area 51. And it just goes into some speculation there. The Air Force came in headed by this gentleman, Captain Lima, and the Air Force quickly had sightings of their own, confirming the legitimacy of these encounters. And in fact, Captain Lima was visited, I believe, in his bedroom by one of these beings who told him it wasn't there to hurt him and put an implant into his under his arm. And he tried to have the implant x-rayed and nothing showed up. Now, Captain Lima would go on a few decades after the attacks to commit suicide, shortly, I believe, after giving this interview. And many people think that there's he was taken out. I don't really ascribe to that belief. I think that, from what I've been able to piece together about him, he had some troubles, and it was probably a legit suicide. But many people would disagree. In any case, he did encounter these beings himself, as did many others. This is, an incredible series of UFO attacks on people. And, the craft possibly may have been sucking people's blood. Here's an article saying, flying object sucks the blood of its victims, August 11, 1977. At the very least, a lot of the victims were coming down with anemic symptoms. So were these craft actually drawing the blood of its victims like vampires? If it is blood related, my mind goes immediately to cattle mutilations and the focus on blood in those cases. All of the blood drawn from the cows, completely exsanguinated, and no blood found in the area. In addition to having pieces of the various cows removed. As far as I know, none of the humans involved in this were mutilated in that way. There were some deaths associated, I believe, with the radiation sickness. So, being irradiated, having potentially blood drawn from them, terrifying the people of Colares and even the Air Force investigators. So, what did happen in Colares? What was the reason behind that? Why were the beings drawing blood from people if that's what was happening? Do they need blood? Is this for testing purposes? Are they doing something else with that blood? Does it have anything to do with cattle mutilations? Well, I'm really looking forward to George Knapp's documentary about it. I hope he can answer some of those questions. If nothing else, he can at least shed some light on this terrifying series of incidents that happened in 1977. So let me know what you think about all that in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos and all that kind of good stuff. There's plenty of other videos on the channel, and I'll check you out next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.